Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is JLJ Fishing here, and today I'm gonna be showing you guys some of the best hotspots for late summer bass fishing.
Fishing in late summer can be difficult if you don't know where to find these fish because they are so spread out. As these fish are transitioning into the cooler months of fall, they tend to be more aggressive and eating a lot of food to fatten up for the winter, but for the remaining months of summer, they are so spread out. These fish can be deep or shallow, but you have to put in some effort to really find where those fish are on those particular day. Enough talking, so let's get right into the best bass hotspots for late summer. So let's start off with deep structure. Fishing deep structure for bass involves a strategic approach to target areas where bass seek refuge and food away from the heat in late summer. Begin by identifying the structure such as submerged rocks, ledges, drop-offs, or sunken trees using a depth finder or sonar to map out the underwater landscape. Once you've pinpointed these structures, position your boat so you can effectively cast or vertically present baits. Employ lures that can reach these depths, such as deep diving crankbaits, heavy jigs, or large soft plastics. Slowly and methodically work your bait along the structure, focusing on the edges and drop-offs where bass are likely to be laying into ambush. Additionally, incorporating techniques like dragging jigs along the bottom or using a Carolina rig can be effective in enticing bass to strike. Be prepared for subtle bites, as bass in deeper water may not hit aggressively. Regularly adjust your approach based on feedback from your sonar and the conditions to maximize your success in these deep, often cooler habitats. The best baits to use in deep structure is going to be drop shot, deep crankbait, and a big jig. That's the end of the first segment, deep structure. Now let's get into the second segment, brush piles. Fishing brush piles for bass requires a focused and careful approach to effectively navigate and entice fish around these natural structures. Start by locating brush piles using a sonar or depth finder to map out their exact positions, as those areas provide essential cover and attract bass seeking shelter or food. Approach the brush pile quietly to avoid spooking the fish, and position your boat in a suitable distance to cast or vertically fish the pile. Use baits that can penetrate the thick cover without getting snagged, such as jigs with weed guards, Texas rigs, or creature baits that can mimic prey. When casting, aim to land your bait gently within or just outside the brush pile, and then use slow, deliberate retrieval to avoid getting tangled. If you're fishing vertically, drop your bait straight down and work it through the brush pile with subtle movements, occasionally pausing it, let it settle, and attract attention of nearby bass. It's crucial to be patient and methodical, as bass may strike gently or hold tightly to the cover. Adjust your presentation based on the bass's response, and if you encounter frequent snags, try using a heavier line or different rigging technique to maintain a good connection with the fish while minimizing lost gear. The best baits to fish here is going to be Texas rigged worms, jigs, and chatterbaits. That sums up segment number 2, brush piles. Now let's get into segment number 3, drop-offs. Fishing drop-offs for bass is a highly effective technique, especially during late summer when bass seek cooler, deeper water. To start, identify drop-offs using a depth finder or sonar to locate where the shallow water transition into deeper depths. These areas often hold bass as they use the drop-offs as ambush points for prey moving between depths. Position your boat parallel to the drop-off and cast your bait beyond the edge, allowing it to sink naturally along the slope. Opt for lures that can effectively cover varying depths, such as deep diving crankbaits, jigs, or soft plastics. When retrieving, use a slow and steady retrieve to keep the bait within the strike zone, or employ a yo-yo technique by letting the bait fall and then reeling it up in a rhythmic motion to mimic the movement of injured prey. Pay close attention to changes in drop-off, as bass may be concentrated at specific points along the slope or at a transition between the shallow and deep areas. Additionally, experimenting with different depths and retrieval speeds can help find the most effective presentation for the conditions. Be prepared for subtle bites and maintain a sensitive touch on the line, as bass may strike lightly when in deeper water. This approach, combined with patience and precision, can lead to successful catches from those productive fishing zones. The best baits to fish here is going to be a drop shot, deep crankbait, and a big jig. That's the end of segment number 3, drop-offs. Now let's get into segment number 4, weed beds. Fishing weed beds for bass involves a strategic approach to effectively navigate and entice fish hiding among the vegetation. Begin by identifying the weed beds using sonar or a depth finder, as well as visually observing their location and density. Position your boat so you can cast effectively across the weed bed while avoiding to spook the fish. Use lures designed to penetrate and work through thick vegetation, such as weedless Texas rig soft plastics, topwater frogs, or spinnerbaits with a heavy wire guard. When casting, aim for the edges and pockets within the weed bed where bass are likely to be lying in ambush. Retrieve your bait with a slow, steady motion to mimic the movement of prey, and periodically pause or twitch it to trigger strikes. Pay attention to changes in the weed bed structure and depth, as bass may be more active in specific areas or around openings in the weeds. Be prepared for aggressive strikes, as bass often hit hard in these productive cover zones. Use a strong, abrasion-resistant line to handle potential snags and ensure you can effectively set the hook. This approach, coupled with careful presentation and persistence, can yield successful results when targeting bass in weed-filled environments. Best baits to fish here are Texas rigged worm, spinnerbait, jigs, and a chatterbait. Now that segment number 4, weed beds, is wrapped up, now let's get into our last segment, shade. Fishing shaded areas for bass requires a tactical approach to capitalize on cooler, more comfortable environments that these spots provide, especially during late summer when bass seek refuge from the intense heat. Begin by locating shaded spots such as overhanging trees, docks, boathouses, or rocky outcrops where the sun's rays are blocked. These areas offer bass not only protection but also a strategic vantage point to ambush prey. Approach these spots quietly to avoid disturbing the fish and position your boat so you can make accurate casts or presentations. Opt for lures that can effectively mimic natural prey and penetrate the cover, such as soft plastics, jigs, or topwater baits. When casting, aim for the darkest part of the shade and work your bait slowly to allow the bass time to spot and strike. Use techniques like slow, deliberating retrieve or occasional pauses to entice the bass. Additionally, experimenting with different depths within the shaded area can help you find where the bass are most active. Pay close attention to subtle changes in structure or cover, as these can be prime spots for bass to hold. Be prepared for potentially aggressive strikes, as shaded areas can sometimes lead to more sudden and forceful bites. Utilizing a sensitive rod and strong line is crucial to handle the potential challenges of fishing around heavy cover and ensure a successful hook set. The best baits to fish here are Texas rigged baits, a jig, topwater lures, and large glide baits.
Alright, that is going to wrap up today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below if you guys learned something new from this video and what type of content you guys want to see next. Peace.